Greetings, friends. In this video, I want to tell you how to work with a set of indicators index RAID code. First of all, let's start by adding them to the graph. A notification that you have been added to the access to the indicator will be sent to the notifications section. It can be viewed here. By clicking on your icon, you will have an invitation in the notifications section. After you accept it, you will be taken to the indicator page, and at the very bottom, you will have the Add to Favorites icon. After you have added the indicators to your favorites, go to the Indicators Favorites section and find them here in the list. They will be displayed with a green lock. Click on each of them and add it to the graph. You will immediately see the strategy window. First, you need to close it. Before we start reviewing the work with the indicator, I would like you to read the description of them. There are links in the comments on the TradingView platform. I recommend starting with a description of the index RAID code by indicator. All the main algorithms of this indicator are embedded in the strategy by which trading is carried out. RAID code head. The main indicators that are embedded in the RAID code by are the momentum indicator is a purple ribbon, the moment difference indicator, and an orange curve on the indicator. Stochastic RSI indicator, green-red curve on the indicator. Money flow indicator, MEF index, gray turquoise wave on the indicator. Additionally, these indicators are displayed in a line at the top, turning from gray to turquoise, as well as the trend score W1 indicator. This is a polyline curve that moves from a translucent turquoise zone down to a translucent gray zone, and vice versa. Signals are also displayed on the indicator. They are highlighted with columns of gray and turquoise, where gray always means short, and turquoise means long. The indicator highlights signals with a cross and stronger signals with a diamond. You can also see on the chart that the indicator has three zones. A white line at the top, in the middle, and at the bottom. The numeric values are 60, 0, and -60. If we disable the other indicators in the settings, then we will see that this tape is moving in this channel. The momentum algorithm. The further the tape goes beyond -60 or +60, the greater the probability of a reversal. If we turn on the signals in the settings, then you and I will see that if the tape passes the 60 mark, or -60, RUM appears. Also, in addition, this place is highlighted by a pillar. If turquoise long, if gray, most likely it will be short. And I draw your attention to the fact that the short symbol is shown at the top. If a cross is shown, it means that the momentum wave has not passed the 60 mark in this movement. If the cross is highlighted, it means that the momentum wave in the opposite direction has not crossed the 60 mark. Note that when the wave moves from top to bottom in the short dynamics and is below the +60 zone, a cross will be drawn. In the same case, if the wave has passed the +60 mark, a RUM will be drawn. If the short movement continues on a descending wave, that is, the purple wave is below the 0 mark in negative values, then in this case, the cross signal is drawn. So the movement may not be strong enough. One of the most important algorithms of this indicator is the difference wave. This wave shows the difference between the two waves of this tape, a short and a long wave. The difference value can be viewed in the status bar, here, highlighted in orange. If it is positive, we go to longy. If it is negative, we are in shorts. The next indicator is the cash flow indicator or the manifest cash flow index. Please note, these are waves turning from gray to turquoise, where the gray ones are the shorts and the turquoise ones are the longs. According to these waves, we determine how much money is invested in an asset or how much they come out of it. If more money is invested in an asset, the asset should grow accordingly and the wave becomes turquoise. If, on the contrary, money leaves the asset, the wave becomes gray. Thus, when deciding to open a position in long or short, you and I can see how actively money is coming into this asset. It is also worth noting that the narrowing of these waves means the probability of a change in the direction of the trend. If the wave narrows, and there is a hint that it will narrow and go into the green zone, we will see with you on the chart. The departure from the gray zone to the Lange, respectively, the price will rise. Also, the cash flow movement can be tracked along the line at the top. Transitions from the short zone to the long zone, and vice versa, are more clearly shown here. The next algorithm of the indicator is the stochastic RSI, and RSI moves from two values 80 and 20. If the value is approaching 80, you can see the value in the status bar. It is either green or red. It means that we are already very overheated, and the asset is overbought. If the indicator value approaches closer to the 20 mark, or below this mark, it means that the asset is heavily oversold, and we have the option of a reversal in the direction of purchases, that is, in the low. The indicator also highlights this direction in green or red. At the same time, it does this in advance, that is, when we cool down, move, for example, from the overbought zone to the oversold zone. The indicator already changes the color of the wave in advance, where red will mean that we are overbought, and green, that we are oversold. The next indicator algorithm is the trend score WMA indicator. This is a trend indicator. The indicator moves from two zones. As we can see, turquoise is the zone of longs, and gray is the zone of shorts. The polyline curve reaches a minimum value of -83 and 3 and a maximum value of +83 and 3. You can also see it in the status bar. With a maximum value of 83 and 3, we have the maximum longs, but the probability of a reversal is quite high. With a minimum value of -83 and 3, this means that we have a high probability of shorts, but somewhere around the corner, there will be a reversal in the direction of purchases. For example, let's pay attention to any signal that can be said to be the strongest, that is, on the signal of the rhombus. For example here, if we look at the indicator, we will see with you that we are very much overheated according to the stochastic RSI. Yes, the green color continues, but at the same time, first of all we look at the value. 85 and 2. Crossed the 85 mark. In the maximum values, we have the trend score indicator. In the Langes, the mark is 83 and 3. We also see that we are at the top of the momentum wave of the purple indicator ribbon and received a signal in the form of a diamond. We can see that the cash flow is very weak, it is long, but there is already a hint that we will turn around, because the difference wave has also gone into negative value, showing us the -2 and 6 mark. You can see it here. Thus, the indicator showed that we have already overheated quite well. The trend is most likely completed, and we can turn around with you, which is exactly what happened. Confirmation of this was the transition of the cash flow from the turquoise value to the gray one. Somewhere here, it was already clear to the trader that the probability of going into the short direction was confirmed. It is also very important to track not only the cash flow and the level of the cash flow wave of the manifest indicator, but also the momentum waves in terms of their maximum values of extremes and minimum values, what can be called trigger waves. If the wave is located beyond the intersection of -60 or +60, here you can see the value on the right side. It means that the wave that crossed the -60 mark gave a strong signal in the form of a rhombus, changed its direction. This wave is considered an anchor wave. A wave that has not crossed the 60 mark is considered a trigger wave. If we see such a wave movement as here, that is, there is an anchor wave and there is a trigger wave, then the probability of price movement in the direction of the trigger wave is very high. If we look at the chart, from the moment the trigger was formed, the price began to move up. The same is true for the downward movement. Only the anchor and trigger appear already from the upper waves. For example, like here. You need the index RAID code by indicator in the set of algorithms so that you understand how the waves move, what the main values of this indicator are present, and what strategies can be used with them. In fact, all the algorithms of this indicator work in the main indicator in the coding strategy. After you have added it to the chart, your picture will look like this. There is a strategy tester at the bottom. In this tester, you have several key metrics. This is profit. This is the number of transactions. This is the percentage of profit. But before we start setting up a strategy with you, I would like to tell you what other key algorithms are present in the index RAID code indicator kit. In addition to those that are in the B code and that are embedded here in the A code. So, first of all, I would like to draw attention to the 5 multicolored curves. These are exponential and moving averages. In the description of the index RAID code Hey indicator, you can read about it. The green curve is the 13th exponential moving average, the fastest. The next purple one is the 25th exponential moving average. Then the orange curve is the 50th exponential moving average. The blue one is the 100th exponential moving average, and the red one is the 200th. These exponential moving averages are displayed on the strategy. In order to have a clear understanding of finding dynamic support and resistance levels, as well as possible price reversals. For those who do not know, exponential sliding averages press 2 patterns on the chart, which traders use very often. The first pattern is a golden cross, when the faster exponential moving average crosses the slower exponential moving average, from bottom to top. For example, the orange 50th crosses the red 200th, after which the price rises. Also fair on the contrary. The price falls if a death cross is drawn on the chart among the exponential moving averages. In this case, the faster exponential moving average crosses the slower exponential moving average from top to bottom. After that, we are more likely to see a downward movement with you. The most fair thing for these names is the golden cross and the cross of death. This is the intersection of the 50th exponential moving average and the 200th exponential moving average. But it is also true for the 13th, 50th, 25th, and 100th. Also, the RAID code Hey algorithm has other exponential moving averages that work for the strategy. The next indicator you can see on the chart is the Ashimi trend indicator. This indicator is also based on moving averages or moving hollas, which is why it is called an Ashimi trend. As you can see on the chart, the indicator changes 3 colors: green, red, and white, where red is short, white is cooling or neutral values, and green is talong. The indicator is very fast and can predict the change of price movement in advance. Going from red to white means that the trend movement is cooling down, and a change to green can be considered as a change in the direction of price movement, that is, a higher probability. Another algorithm of the RAID code Hey index is the sequential algorithm. This is also a trend indicator. It is displayed on the chart as numeric values at the top and bottom of the candles. There are 9 candles in the indicator in total. It is believed that at the 9th candle, the indicator will most likely show us the end of the trend and the possibility of its reversal. We will see a stronger movement if there are 13 candlesticks, but the indicator will not highlight them with a numerical value, but will continue to highlight them with a change in direction. That is, if the candles are gray, it is a short movement. You can have them red. And suddenly we see with you the color green. This means that most likely we are cooling down. The indicator has reached its maximum values, the inertia movement continues, and the probability of a reversal is very high. The same is true for long movements. Only candles will be highlighted in red. And the last algorithm of the RAID code Hey index is the parabola algorithm. This is also a trend indicator, which very clearly shows the trend change. Note that if the parabolic curve at the bottom of the graph is drawn in turquoise, it means Langi. If it is gray on top of the candle chart, it means charts. You need to track the transition very clearly. As we see here, the gray guide is broken into a turquoise guide. It is also true in this part of the graph. Before we move on to setting up the strategy, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that the entire set of algorithms is sharpened under the Heikin-Ashi candlestick chart. Going to the tab here, you need to select it. Next, before we configure the indicator, you need to go to its settings, here in this section. Be sure to set this checkmark, as well as this checkmark. Since we are working with a Heikin-Ashi chart, and we want to see the opening of a position on a specific candle where a signal appeared, we need to set these two parameters. Also, another important parameter is the exchange commission. If we are talking about the Bybit exchange, then here is 0.05. The other values cannot be changed, they are conditional. Click Oklahoma. So, to set up the strategy, I chose a time frame of 15 minutes and a futures contract of the Bybit exchange. What do we see when we go to the indicator settings? First of all, we see the strategies section with you. If we want to trade in both directions, we choose both long and short. The strategy symbol must be enabled. If we want to trade only long, we turn off the short. The same is true for shorts. We turn off the long. In order to understand how the RAID code algorithm works, first of all you probably need to turn to the fundamental principles of technical analysis. You and I know that the market is a crowd, and the mood of the crowd moves the market. This is true for the fundamental theory of DAO. We also know that the market is in different cycles. You and I know that when the market is growing, this is a period of public participation. When the market is moving sideways, this is a period of accumulation, or when the market is falling, this is a period of distribution. When major players begin to take profits. As a rule, all those who come to the market for the first time try to find the minimum or maximum values of these parameters. That is, to sell, as they say, at the maximum price values on the all-time high, or to buy at the bottom of the market when the price value is minimal. Since, as I said at the very beginning, the market is psychology, it is quite difficult to track this psychology. First of all, you need to turn to the psychology of the trader himself. 95% of the success of trading in the market is the psychology of a market participant directly, that is, a trader or an investor. Everything else is a technique. I chose algorithmic analysis, indicator analysis, just because I know that mathematics is a science for sure. If it is not possible for me to determine psychology, then at least mathematical calculations will be accurate. All trading on the market, for those who do not know, is called a game on the stock exchange. Exactly the game. This is the very essence. We can only see with you the probabilities of price movement. No indicator, no strategy, and no one else is able to predict the price movement in one direction or the other with absolute accuracy. So, in order to evaluate the market, I chose several periods. First of all, in order to set up a strategy, you need to understand that trading consists of an assessment of the previous period. Therefore, there is a section on the indicator here where we can set the exact time period. For a 15-minute time frame, I choose an estimated period of 1 week. For 1 hour, I choose an estimated period of 1 month, and so on. That is, I multiply it by 4. Please note that after I tick the testing time limit, I need to select the test period. That is, I need to select a week ago from today's date. It will be the 13th of February. In this value, you cannot put anything. The most important thing is to tick you time, that is, recently or now. Below, we see the switching off of various indicators, including the inclusion of the divergence display on the ASHME trend indicator. This value is disabled by default. This may be an extra hint. Then we see the settings of the ASHME indicator itself. The default value is ASH-L2. I recommend staying on it, but you can also test others. Curve length and evaluation period. That is, this is the first condition, the second, third, and fourth condition. These conditions, at least the bottom two, will always be configurable. Then, the code algorithm goes directly. So that you understand, there are 2 main and 2 auxiliary strategies in the code. These strategies are based on all algorithms that are available both in the index, red code by indicator, and in the red code, hey strategy. All the algorithms that I have listed participate in the strategy, or protect the strategy from losing trades. Additionally, there is also a volume. It is not displayed on the chart, it is displayed in the status bar with gray numbers. So, the period of the wave movement is the difference, the maximum volume, the conditions of the 2 strategies, the first and the second. The key condition for strategies to work is the momentum wave. With the first strategy, we trade from the bottom wave up. With the second strategy, when the wave is at the top, and we are also trading up. With these values, we protect the entry into an inefficient transaction. The number of indicator candles that will be allowed to trade. The indicator will trade from the first candle, that is, when it sees the number 1, either it is allowed to use the 3rd candle, or the 7th, and so on up to the 9th. The next condition is the period of movement of the transcore indicator, the polyline curve of the buy code, which is also involved in the strategy. Then, we see with you 3 windows of the parabolic SAR indicator, the length and the maximum scrap, and in the next window, we see with you 2 conditions for exiting the position. They are absolutely unconditional. I recommend leaving everything as enabled here. The first condition is the exit when the candle color changes. The second condition is that the momentum difference changes the value from short to long. If there is a position in the short difference, the momentum becomes positive or crosses the 0 mark, the deal is closed. If the position is long, the differential momentum crosses the 0 mark or goes into a negative value, the deal is closed. If both conditions are met, then it is necessary that the color of the candle also change. This will happen anyway, so the logic of this strategy does not use stop loss and take profit. Then we see the conditions. Going over these conditions, as well as these values, we will be able to choose with you the maximum number of transactions with 100% profitability. The second condition is always disabled. This is when all 4 strategies will work simultaneously. If this condition is enabled, there are quite a few transactions, or they may not exist at all. Therefore, it is disabled by default, but it is considered the toughest for the most conservative traders. Let's get started with the setup. By clicking on the peephole twice, we will display a profit chart, the number of transactions, and the percentage of profitable transactions. Our best achievement will be a 100% result on the profit of transactions, a certain number, and accordingly, everything should be green here. How do I do it? After I set up a period of 15 minutes 1 week ago to evaluate the previous period, to determine the probability of price movement in the future. First of all, I start with the difference wave. I pull it down to give the opportunity to see the largest number of transactions. Let's start with 1. Then I lower both waves to a value of 5 or 10. Let's start with 5. The sequential indicator, I set the assignment 4, and the ASH trend, I set the assignment 8. Then the selection begins. First of all, in the strategy windows, 10 in each. Then, as soon as we see that everything has turned green here, but we have not reached the 100% mark, I begin to move the first strategy first of all. 15. The percentage of profitable trades has changed to a negative value. I'll try to climb up to 65, after which I'll return to the 15 mark and go down below. 20. 30. At the 30 mark, I saw a value of 60%. I start setting up strategy 2. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. We're going back to the 30 mark. Let's go back to the first waves. 35, 40, 45, 50. So, you and I found 83 and 3% profit for 6 trades. Now you need to adjust the value. We will move each wave until this result changes. By the way, at the time of recording this review, a signal arrived at the 15-minute contract of the Bybit exchange. Let's take a look at it. Let's save the settings. I want to say right away that I make a separate chart for each individual time frame and each individual instrument. This is where you can create it. Upload a new chart. 15 minutes contract. We got a short signal. Before we finish reviewing the indicator settings, I would like to draw your attention. When receiving such a signal, it is best to enter the position on the rollback of the second candle. That is, the signal appeared here at 17:30, the candle has already formed, and we see that, at 17:45, when the candle opened, a signal appeared. On the rollback of this candle, you can enter. But before going in, I want to draw your attention right away that you need to see what is happening on the older time frame. This is a time frame of 1 hour, that is, +4. For an hourly time frame, a 4-hour time frame will be valid. Moving on for an hour, we see a red doji candle. There are 3 degrees of risk. If the candle is completely red, it means that the transaction is with minimal risk. We become short, and on the older clock too, short. If there is a candle of uncertainty, it means an average degree of risk. If there was a green candle here, it would mean a high degree of risk. Then, Each trader makes a decision for himself to enter into this transaction or not. We will also see how this transaction closes after setting up a 15-minute time frame on the Bybit exchange for a Bitcoin contract. 100% profitable trades, 3 profitable trades. The evaluation period is 1 week. Back to our settings. So, we have 6 deals, 83 and 3%. We continue to move the wave until the values change. The value changes at around 49. We'll bet you 50. Let's check strategy 2 right away. The value changes at around 27. We leave the value 27. Now, what does the difference mean? 1, 2, 3, 5, 10. Pay attention now to the chart. Right here, on the wave of the difference in the status bar. If you put the value 15 here, and in the status bar, we see minus 14 and 6, and there will be minus 13. The transaction will not open. Accordingly, in order to protect the position, we set the maximum value of the difference wave, based on those transactions that we tracked for a 7-day period ago. Checking it out. That is, we lost 2 trades at a value of 3. We leave the value 2. Now the volume. Volume protects us from entering a position. In order to understand what the average volume is and whether the protection will work, we need to look at what kind of deal we have negative over a 7-day period. In the strategy tester, we are looking at a list of deals. Here it is. Click on it. The deal is short, and we immediately see this deal. Here the volume was 758. Go to the settings, and let's try to put 759. The deal is gone. Go to the review. We see that we have 2 deals with 100% result. Let's look at the following indicators that can change this situation. The choice is sequential, on which candle to open a position. The first candle is the beginning of the trend movement. The fourth one will be somewhere in the middle. Let's try with the third one. 1 with a fifth. 3, but the result is already much worse. 4 is a 100% result. Let's look at smoothing the period of the trend indicator trend fast. We put 9. Further, even higher, and let's try in the opposite direction. Nothing has changed, we leave 5 by default. Smoothing parabolic Sarah. We try 1 unit up. The situation has worsened. We return it. Let's see what the ASHM indicator tells us. Nothing changes from 8 to 15. 20. We leave 15 default values. Now, these conditions can be disabled. They actually protect against entry, but at the same time, they can increase the number of transactions. Let's try on the volume. The volume is likely to return us 5 transactions, 80%. That's right, returning the volume. I do not recommend touching the difference. This is one of the main algorithms for strategy conditions. It is also advisable not to touch the waves and their intersections, as well as their exponential intersections. One of the strong protective indicators is the change in the color of the candle. Let's clean it up. Let's see what happens. The situation is not changing. This indicator is the opening and closing of the candle, the maximum and minimum value from the previous indicators. In other words, the maximum of the next candle should be higher than the maximum of the previous one, and vice versa for shorts. Nothing changes. RC color change, also no changes. Changing the color of the cash flow. For deals 75%. Not very good conditions. The color change is trending fast. There are no changes. The conditions are ours, my trend. There are no changes. We check the sequential with you. Let's check the changes of parabolic Sarah and its scrapping. Nothing has changed. Disabling 2 strategies is also not recommended. And the last indicator is visout status. This means that when a deal is opened, the candle will not pull in the opposite direction. Also, nothing changes. In this case, I recommend leaving the conditions that we have found. Click Oklahoma and save your schedule. We found 2 deals in a period of 7 days. The most important thing is that now the opening of the next position is as secure as possible for you, and the probability that the opening of the next transaction will be in the direction in which it opens is quite high. This does not mean a 100% result. As I have already said, we trade exclusively with probability. It is also recommended to check the higher timeframes multiplied by 4. That is, for 15 minutes an hour. As I have already said, for an hour, it will be 4 hours, well, for 4 hours respectively. Then we need to adjust the signal. For those who have the premium version, you can configure the bot. There is a description of the bot setup in the comment to the indicator. The signals will arrive automatically in the Telegram bot. In order to set up a signal, we need to click on 3 points, add a signal. Here, write the name of the signal, well, for example, 15 minutes. If you are setting up a bot, you will need to enter this line in this indicator. It is in the comments to the description of the TradingView strategy. Set up a Telegram bot, and you will receive a signal there. If not, then here in the settings, I recommend changing this text to the text that is in the strategy comment. Here it is, that is, from brackets to brackets. Copy, paste, and click Create. Here you will see a signal. To delete it, you can click Remove. Let's go now to my schedule for 15 minutes and see how to work out the signal there. I trust the algorithm and therefore hold the position until I receive a signal when I open it. As I have already said, the degree of risk of this position was average since we observed a doji candle on the hourly time frame, and it was red, now it's green. The average degree of risk, the next candle opened red, that's good. But in any case, the risk was average. Please note that the deal will close taking into account my settings when the color of the candle changes, and the value of the difference wave changes. Now, if we look at the orange numeric indicator here, we will see that it is -12 and 3 now. When this value reaches 0, or changes to positive after the candle closes, there will be a signal to close the position. The essence of strategy setup is the idea, the fundamental principle of operation, of the set of algorithms index RAID code. The idea is that since the psychology of people is not under our control, and we as market participants, as traders, cannot evaluate it, we can rely only on technical analysis and accurate indicators of mathematical calculations of the previous time period, in order to assess how a particular asset behaves in the present time and can lead myself in the future. Since the entire period of the asset's presence on the trading platform, for example, Bitcoin or a Bitcoin contract on the Bybit exchange, there is no point in evaluating it. From the moment of its listing, IDS publication on the stock exchange, until today, a lot of time has passed. The volume has changed, conditions have changed, trends have changed, and this assessment will not correspond to the fact. That is why, on a 15-minute time frame, I evaluate only the previous week, and on an hour, I evaluate only the previous month. When setting up the indicator, the main idea works. This is the selection of the code for the market. This is the same as finding the password to a closed door or to a closed safe. We can often see this in the movies, when a technician approaches a closed door with the device, connects it, and symbols or numeric values begin to be selected on the device. And after they are selected, the doors or lock open. It's the same here. Having set these settings, I picked up the code for the lock. I got 100% of profitable trades for the previous week on the Bybit exchange contract, on a time frame of 15 minutes. And at the time of recording this video, we had a deal with you. I suggest we wait for it to be completed. To fix this event, you and I can look at the list of alerts on February 20th at 17:45, 15 minutes. The closing of this position will also be displayed in the signal logs. While we were waiting for the completion of the strategy, on the 15-minute Bitcoin contract, we opened a position for 15 minutes of Ether. Both deals were opened at the time of recording this tutorial video. It is interesting to observe the graph in seconds. Here it is more clearly possible to track how the algorithms of indicators work. Curves act as resistance. The ninth candle, moved by inertia, rested against the resistance, and the SM indicator turned around. The parabolic SAR turned around. Pay attention, they drew death crosses and went down. How is the cash flow moving? There is a narrowing, a signal appears, the probability of a rebound, bounced off, to the resistance of curves. There was a signal, rested on the 50th, turned around, moving down. Parabolic began to draw the hall. In fact, if you observe on a second time frame, you can accurately understand the logic of the operation of the set of algorithms. Index RAID code. It is also possible to observe the values. There is a breakthrough, a narrowing of the cash flow, an attempt to go into the green zone. They have not left. A rhombus signal appeared, the maximum value, the momentum wave went beyond the 60 mark, bounced. They began to draw a weak cash flow and went to Lang. There were signals. Cash flow is weak, very weak. But pay attention to how the trend score worked. We moved up from the short zone, and the whole chart moved along with it. Curves act as support. A schema works out the indicator very quickly. We are trying to hold on to the 200th, now on the 100th. The 9th candle, a reversal. There is a narrowing of the cash flow. We started drawing monoflow shorts, but at the same time, please note, the trend indicator did not complete the movement in Vango, so they immediately left the shorts for the green manifesto. That is, in fact, the RAID code algorithm kits are a set of indicators individually configured in order to assess the direction of price movement, taking into account all indicators, all algorithms, as well as, of course, the basics of technical analysis of price action candle patterns. Well, the set includes trend indicators as much as possible, such as parabolic SAR, sequential, ASM indicator, trend fast, with the reference that the trend is from her friend. You need to trade exclusively according to the trend, the safest trade. That is why, when evaluating a 15-minute time frame, and when a signal appears on a 15-minute time frame, it is mandatory to track the hourly chart at the signal location as soon as it appears. There's a red Heikenhash candle here. Judging by what I see, it's without a wick. This condition is set in the settings for 15 minutes without Zot shadows. This means that the transaction is with the least risk, and at the same time, of course, this does not mean that it will be 100% positive, but from what I see, the probability is very high. After some time of practice, when you learn how to work with this algorithm, the market will become warmer for you. Also note that the FIBA levels are plotted here on the chart, and we are very well now reaching for the value of 51,294. If you look even more closely for 15 minutes, then we are drawing a channel with you. In fact, we have entered on a sideways movement. If there is a breakthrough of the lower border of the channel, the price will fall even lower. Pay attention to the Ether contract. Now we have drawn a green candle of uncertainty, rested on the dynamic support of the blue curve. This is the 100th exponential sliding average. At the same time, the previous candle wick exactly reached the 200th to the red curve. Now here, you and I can see the difference wave value. The candle has changed color, but the value is still in negative. Until the candle changes color to green, and the difference changes value from 0 and above, this transaction will not close. So, we received a notification about the closing of the transaction, which opened at the time of recording this tutorial video. Let's look at the percentage of profitability. The percentage was 1/7700%. I immediately draw your attention to the fact that no shoulders are indicated here in this strategy. Accordingly, when trading even with the second leverage, this percentage doubles. The broadcast deal also closed here with a smaller percentage, about 1% profit. Thus, the main essence of the strategy and its setup lies in protecting the trader from opening the wrong deal. All the conditions described here help the main and auxiliary strategies to put up protective mechanisms as much as possible, so that the next trade that opens on the chart after it is set up will be profitable. Links to the indicators can be found in the description of this video. Be sure to like and support the channel with comments. Thank you all. Gosha was with you, and see you again.